2100 IDEN.
I was working inbound traffic from the north and northwest to the Kennedy Airport. My coordinator accepted a handoff from the high altitude sector and en route descent to Kennedy via Carmel, Riverhead, Deer Park. The aircraft came over and reported at the assigned altitude that I have marked on my flight progress strips. I identified the traffic, verified the identification, issued an en route descent appropriate for traffic. His clearance was from the high altitude, which would be somewhere above 23,000, to an altitude of 11,000 feet. As he was approaching the Carmel VOR, there was other traffic southwestbound from Boston to Newark Airport. And it was a normal occurrence that two aircraft vertically separated by 1,000 feet would cross over one another. There was nothing different and doesn't happen at least maybe 100 times a day. The next thing I know, the Transworld aircraft made reference to the fact that he just had a mid-air collision. I wasn't very sure what I had heard the first time because it was startling. I just wasn't sure. I asked him to say it again. And his reply was, I just hit a blue-colored Constellation. At that particular time, it was a penetrating jolt to myself. And again, I wasn't really sure what I had heard, and he verified that he had 30 feet of his left wing torn off. I made everybody around me aware of it because I don't remember exactly what I did, but I know I jumped to my feet. Within seconds after, I gave him a direct course to the Kennedy Airport, naturally giving him the most expeditious handling we possibly could. I made also reference to the other controller. He didn't realize the impact of what I had heard, till maybe 2 minutes or a couple minutes after I knew what was going on. I says to the man, I says, see if you can contact this aircraft. So he did, and he says, I can't. And I says, try again and again and make sure you get him. And when he finally did get in contact with him, there was panic.
No, go ahead. I'm going to move the screen.
You handle hundreds and hundreds of aircraft a day or in a week, and you never think of them as really people in each aircraft, or you'll go crazy trying to separate people. It's this blip must not come next to this blip. And my first impulse when he told me he just hit another aircraft was, oh my gosh, those poor people. And there you are sitting with a microphone in your hand, and there's really nothing much you can do. I recall hearing, I don't remember if it was the pilot or the engineer or one of the people from the aircraft talking, and he gave his full name. I don't recall the name offhand. And he said, help us. And like I said before, you sit there with a mic in your hand. There's not much help you can give them. A safe aircraft flying, you at level flight with all things being normal, you can help. An aircraft going down, you can't help them much. Well, how could that particular incident have been avoided? It's purely conjecture on anybody's part what actually happened. Right at this particular time, we're giving 1,000-foot vertical separation to any aircraft. We're giving 3 miles lateral separation within 40 miles of an antenna of the radar facility using, and 5 miles after the facility. You can extend those safety procedures to infinity. You can give a guy 100 miles, but that doesn't mean that these pilots and these facilities and the equipment that they're using is up to snuff. Right now, we have two-dimensional radar. We have radar that'll tell you the direction that they're moving. We have radar that'll tell you the distance. We need vertical radar. The equipment that we really need is probably still on the drawing board. I can think of times where I could have used a better frequency. I can think of times when I could have used a better radar presentation. The pressure mounts as the traffic mounts. You come in the morning, and there are days that you can sit around and really just man your position and fly through it. I mean, it's just like any other job. But when you have bad weather, thunderstorms in the sky, snow, whatever it may be, the weather, it predicts the conditions of the of the radar controller and of the pilot as well. When it's bad weather, the pilots are more intent. They're listening a little more carefully. They're more concerned of what's going on. And on the other hand, when it's VFR and they can have visual reference to anything that they're flying from. They can see from here to Chicago that they're a little more lax in their operation.
526, how low can you go, 7?
In Washington, a friend of mine was working the aircraft, and he never did return to work, and this was over 8 years ago. As a matter of fact, he ultimately committed suicide. Now, as far as more recent, the one controller was out on sick leave for over 3 weeks, and he had nothing whatsoever to do with this. And the other one still bears the scars to this day. It contributed to a very unhappy home life. And frankly, every time he works in aircraft, he gets the feeling that perhaps something might happen.
You never think about coming to work and working two aircraft that are going to hit. At least I don't, or at least I try not to think about it. It's quite strenuous at this particular time for everybody concerned to be working a 6-day week. We need skilled personnel. We need skilled personnel badly. And, these people are coming in off the street, I should say, and they have some basic background, mostly military background, either former pilots, tower operators, and their knowledge of air traffic control is very limited, and you've really got to take them by the hand and lead them most of the way. And we need incentives for the more high-density areas, such as New York, Chicago, LA, or most of the big metropolitan cities, that there'd be an incentive for these men to work at these particular airports.
Unless they very quickly come up with better equipment, both radio and radar, and come up with more controllers, the situation that you saw last summer won't be 1/10 as bad as it will be in succeeding summers. It seems that every major improvement has been brought about by our major catastrophe. Hopefully, it won't take another crash to get things going right.
Money, just money. It takes money, and we could have probably the best sophisticated air traffic control system that's available. I hope it doesn't take another mid-air collision, because I don't think how anybody could possibly explain not having this equipment at the next mid-air collision. When lives are concerned, you can't put a price on someone's life or put a price on safety.